Oh my goodness, we got some fun stuff ahead. John McEuen, one of the founding members, the founding member of the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. Incredible stories coming up with a brand new book. Will the Circle Be Unbroken? The Making of a Landmark Album. Very, very cool. And we'll bring that to you right after this.
Hi, I'm Brenda Fielder. At Mid-South Exteriors, our custom sunrooms bring the sunshine in without all the heat and the bugs. And they keep you warm all winter while you enjoy the outdoors all year round. They add real value because we build them like your house to match your house. Or let us save you energy by replacing your windows and old siding. And because we have no retail overhead, we come to you and sell direct to you for less. Call us at 833-8003 or visit us at
MidSouthExteriors.com.
You can't see the sights without the sounds. From the crack of the bat to the roar of the crowd and everything in between, discover what Hit City has to offer. Spend your nights cheering on the Nashville Sounds at First Horizon Park with giveaways, fireworks shows, theme weekends, and more. Single game tickets are on sale now. Visit NashvilleSounds.com to claim your seat today.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited to have this gentleman with us, Mr. John McEuen, one of the founding members of Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. And would you be the godfather of Americana music? Because before you, there was no such title of it, something called Americana music.
Well, Rob Bleetstein, do you remember him?
Yes.
He started Americana. He said the Circle Be Unbroken album was probably the beginning, or one of the beginning things.
Well,
thank you, Rob. I'm going to quote you on that for the next 30 years.
So musically, those roots run deep, and 50 years will the Circle Be Unbroken. This beautiful, beautiful book, The Making of a Landmark Album. It is out and it is beautiful. Anybody who loves country music, anybody who loves music, anybody who loves bluegrass, Americana, this is really a roots book. And you go back to the initial roots. Talk about the connection with Bristol, Tennessee, because everybody thinks Nashville is where everything started, and it's not.
Well, you know, for me, it started with the banjo, and that came through to me through the Dillards in 1964, I guess. I was 17 and a half, and I was drugged to a Dillard performance at a club. Nobody was doing anything then. It was really big, you know. I mean, there were little folk clubs around.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember sitting there and what do they do? What do they do? And, ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome from Salem, Missouri, the Dillards. They came out and they took my breath away, and they became lifelong friends and introduced me to bluegrass, and through them I got to know Earl Scruggs, J.D. Crowe, Bill Keefe, Don Reno, Jimmy Martin, you know, a long list of people that came after. But it was Earl Scruggs who started it by influencing Doug Dillard. And, you know, Doug used to listen to Earl as a teenager on the Opry, on the radio. And anyway,
and then of course Mayberry RFD, I mean the Andy Griffith Show, I mean featured prominently. They were the darlings there, but it was Doug Dillard and that crew. I mean that was who it was, and the Dillards were playing banjo. Doug was one of the first people I met when I came to Nashville.
Oh, really?
Yeah, such a sweet and gentle man, and funny as all get out. And he would never look. When he was playing, he never looked at he was always just grinning and smiling and looking around. And I go, how does he do that? And yet he was an influence.
Yeah, he was a role model for me. And anyway, so that's what got me started at 17 and a half on the banjo. Well, at 18, my father gave me a banjo for my birthday, which meant I could quit playing the guitar.
Did your brother play? Now, what about Bill? Now, I know you credit him for being very instrumental in this whole project.
The Circle Project?
Yes.
Sure. He was a band's manager. He took on managing the group after I got in it in 1966, when Les Thompson, the bass player, called me, and he wasn't playing bass yet. He was only 16. He played the mandolin. Called me and said, "Hey, John, you want to join up with the bunch of guys at the music store? You know them. And we're starting a group." Okay. And I auditioned them. I was 20 years old. I was the oldest one. But I said, well, if you guys can learn this song and back me up at the Topanga Canyon Banjo Fiddle Contest, that'll be good. They did. I won. I thought, this might be what I need. And a month later, I got my brothers to start managing. And we did not know. Oh, man. Somebody should have shot me in the foot. We knew so little. You know, our first album, we knew 13 songs. We put 12 of them on the record. And,
wow.
And that's all we knew. That was all we... Okay. A couple of the guys might have known a few other songs. I knew some bluegrass tunes. But that was all we knew.
It wasn't like this band that had been together forever. You formed and you had some songs, you put it together. What was that with the connection? Where did you hear Mr. Bojangles first? And who decided that that was one of the songs?
That was 4 years later. See, the first album had Bye For Me the Rain on it. And Bill got us a record deal in December. We made the album. It came out February 7th. It was on the radio. And I almost drove off the road when I first heard that, but it was really cool. And that was followed by 4 other albums that were lesser and lesser. But then along came Paint Your Wagon around 1968. And that elevated the group a little and allowed it to sink down after. We got home after Paint Your Wagon and everybody decided to break up. Well, Jeff decided to break us up. But Jeff Hanna,
yes,
is later going to...
Look at this motley crew.
Look at how quick you are.
Look at there. There they are. There they are. And look at there. And did you take this picture? I mean, who took this is, and and your brother is here in this picture?
He's on the right side, yes.
Yeah.
And he's the reason that, well, he's not the only reason. Jimmy Ibbotson is standing next to Earl, and his hair is kind of long. But Roy Acuff, Roy, what do you think about recording with these Nitty Gritty Dirt Band boys? He said, well, I don't know if they're boys or old men. They're all covered with hair. and he was right. He was right. And,
well, Mother Maybelle had a really nice way to describe you too. What did you call you? The dirty band?
No, the Dirty Boys.
The Dirty Boys. The Dirty Boys.
That was sweet of her. I appreciated that, you know. Oh, the Dirty Boys are coming over. Oh boy, we're gonna have some fun.
Well, you know, it's so interesting. But did you have to kind of talk her into some of this?
No.
When you were doing this?
No, it was very wonderful. I told Earl, after I asked Earl Scruggs if he'd record, and he said yes. Later that week, I asked him if he could get Jimmy Martin, and Maybelle Carter. And I knew he knew Maybelle Carter because I'd studied her music on the Flatt and Scruggs Do the Songs of the Famous Carter Family. Did that bell bother you?
No, not a bit.
Flat and Scruggs do this music of the famous Carter family, and I wore that album out.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a couple years before. No, it was 5 years before the Circle album, and and Maybelle she'd go along with anything Earl suggested, but she could tell that Les and I were nice guys. Les played the mandolin, and Jeff and Jimmy sang with reverence towards her.
You know, now in modern day recording, they have 48 tracks typically, or they stack 2 machines, and so they'll double that, and there are all these. It astounded me that you had 2 tracks to record Will the Circle Be Unbroken that first time. Is that right?
Yeah, we only needed 2. I mean, we had the multi-track running. That's Vassar Clements on the right, Les Thompson on the left, Jimmy Ibbotson in the middle. We're doing Lost Highway, I think, there.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, one of the fiddle instrumentals. And we were going to record maybe multi-track, and the 16 track was out and running, and Merle Travis was the first one up.
Oh my gosh.
And because Merle Travis was the first one up, he was going to do an instrumental, Cannonball Rag. Mm-hmm. So at 10 o'clock, he came in the studio and set up by the microphone, and hello, Mr. Travis, hello, Merle, and everybody says, okay, well, sit here. And he says, he plays it, and 10:15 he was done with that song. And the multi-track was running, and Bill and I looked at each other. Why put the multi-track away? Let's do it 2-track, okay? Because we didn't have to overdub anything on.
It's astounding. Everybody, it is a landmark record. It is a landmark record. But when you were making it, I knew that you knew it was special, but did you know it would become synonymous with country music, the Grand Ole Opry, everyone who was the foundation of country music? This song, this recording, this record literally is played for every event. Whenever we lose someone in country music, whenever anything, it's always the homecoming song. So did you know then the gravity of this song?
Didn't really appreciate it, but the song has been around a long time. You know, it was around before the Carter family. You know when the first recording was?
When? No.
1915. My brother was named William E. McEuen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he always made sure it's William E. McEuen. Anyway, in 1915, Will the Circle Be Unbroken was recorded in England. Will the circle be unbroken? Very kind of operatic like.
Uh-huh.
By a guy named William McEuen.
Wow.
I didn't find that out till last year when I was writing this liner notes for this book. And that's too much of a coincidence.
Have you done the 23andMe, the genealogy? And I mean, that is too much of a coincidence. Are you related?
Spelled it different, but that's what happened when the McEwens moved over to America.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if we're related. He spells EWAN. Can't remember. But the song is a very meaningful song, and the album is the album is equivalent to Dark Side of the Moon in that it has been around 50 years. And right now on Amazon, on 3 different charts, it's somewhere between number 15 and number 40
It's a beautiful, beautiful book, and the stories in it are incredible. And you were there for the making of it. I just don't know how.
I told the stories behind every photo that Bill took, and that includes some of the early Dirt Band that led up to the Circle album. The book I covered, the first third is the early group when we were a jug band doing stupid songs. But the stupid songs were hard to do sometimes. I mean, they were funny, you know. I dreamed of a reefer 5 feet long. And Hard-Hearted Hannah, The Vamp of Savannah, GA, and Sadie Green, The Vamp of New Orleans. All these songs about places and things, and I had no idea. I was living in Southern California. I just finished working 3 years in Disneyland. I was a geek.
What did you do in Disneyland? What was your job at Disneyland?
I did magic tricks in the magic shop. I sold magic tricks by doing them all day long to people passing through. I would, that turns 4 nickels into 4 dimes. Watch this. Or, yeah, there's various card tricks. One of the hardest things to do was you had to learn to do all the card tricks that were represented by trick decks, but you used a regular deck, so you wouldn't. Anyway, it made it more fun. And
when you asked,
Dave deck, and
I cannot get over it because you talk about dropping a few names as you talk about forming the band. The band knew what 13 songs. 12 songs, 13 songs.
Well, the first few months, yeah.
The first few months, and then how it moved into a record deal, and then kind of moved into this preservation. When you walked in to have a conversation with Earl Scruggs, what did that feel like, and what's a story that you can relate to us about meeting him?
When we played Vanderbilt University for the first time in 1970, we were playing at around homecoming, and I always went to the gigs early because I was road managing at the time. Also, I was the only one old enough to rent a car when we started, so I became road manager, and I took geography in high school. So that meant I knew where Moscow, Idaho was, but and we were setting up the stuff, and the students kept saying, "Hey, Earl Scruggs is coming tonight, we hear. Hey, did you hear the Scruggs family is coming tonight? You know that Earl's going to be here tonight, Earl Scruggs? You know who that is? You know, yes, he's not going to be here. He's not going to be here." I didn't think he'd be there. And sure enough, about an hour before showtime on the dressing room door, I hear a knock. And I go open the door. I'd been playing the banjo. Oh, this doesn't pick up too good on Skype. Are you going to edit?
Nah, we're just going to leave it right there. You just go right ahead and tune. This is the John McEuen in action. This is good.
Okay. Well, I said, I told Bill, I tuned my banjo like this. I better get ready for Earl. It sounded like a horrible, crazy person trying to play the banjo. You know, and right then, the knock on the door happened. And I opened the door and it's the entire Scruggs family standing there. And I knew it was because I did my homework, and I knew who it was: Stevie, Randy, Gary, Earl, Louise. I said, oh shit. And I shut the door. And I said, I'll open it in a second. Hang on. And I tuned my banjo up and got my composure together. And hello, Mr. Scruggs. Come on in.
Oh my goodness. I cannot imagine how that must have felt. I mean, because he was literally the icon of banjo playing at that time, and probably still is. But and then you guys get to meet for the first time.
He was a god,
Mhm.
the god of banjo. He was. Oh, he was somebody that lived on records for most people because you just didn't get out there. You didn't get around as much back then, 1960, 1970, or until clubs
Mhm.
started happening and stuff. Anyway, 6 months later, he's playing Colorado at a club in Boulder and
Mhm.
taking him back to the hotel every night. He's there for 5 days, and on the way back to the hotel the last night, I'm driving the car. Hey, Earl, I was wondering. Yes, John, what is it? I was wondering. You think? Would you? I would just wanted to know. What is it you want, John? I said, would you record with the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band sometime? And he goes, I'd be proud to.
Oh,
I had wanted to record Soldier's Joy with Earl since I started playing. Soldier's Joy, I would frail and he would pick it, was my thought that would happen. And I didn't, how was that going to happen? I'm just a geek that plays a banjo and don't know Earl. Well, now I knew Earl. Now I'm going to ask him if he'll record. And he said yes. Bill, he said yes. And what a shock. And a week later, Doc Watson was at the same club. And I'd met Merle Watson 2.5 months earlier in LA. He was at Doc was doing a show. And I didn't go so far to meet Doc that night. It was too crowded. It was LA. It was a big concert. It was like 1,100, 1,200 people or something. Everybody had to meet Doc Watson. That was, anyway. So nobody was paying attention to Merle, so I made friends with him. And I told him, I got this idea that I'm going to ask Earl if he wants to record with us. And you're playing the same club he's playing the next week. And if he says yes, I'm going to ask your dad. And he said, that sounds like a great idea. This folk music thing is dying out, The crowds are getting smaller. And when I got to Boulder, when Doc was playing a few months later in Boulder, the crowd was smaller. It was only about 100 people or so. But I drove up to the club, couldn't wait to see Merle. Earl said yes. And, I got to introduce you to Daddy. So he takes me to Daddy. And I talk a bit. My band and I want to do an album with you and with Earl Scruggs, and we want to have you play. And if Earl's going to be there, I want to pick. The band didn't know what I was doing.
Oh my gosh, they didn't even know.
No, it was too difficult to talk about something you're dreaming of, that. And my brother, he was freaking out. He was loving it because when we got Jimmy Martin, Louise Scruggs asked Earl, could you have Louise ask Jimmy Martin if he'd want to be part of it? And, okay, we got Maybell. And let me know when you find the fiddlers. I found them. I found one man. I said, well, can one man handle it all? His name's Vassar Clemens. Well, can he handle it all? And Earl says, he'll do. And that was it. And that was week 3, and that's when I told that's when Bill and I told Jeff and Jimmy and Les what was brewing. I had let Les know a little bit because he played the mandolin, and on the Uncle Charlie and his dog Teddy album, which helped open the gate to the possibilities of this happening. That was our 5th album. And that had the man there next to Earl, had Jimmy Ibbotson on it, who sang House of Pooh Corner and Some of Shirley's Blues, and the last 2 verses of Mr. Bojangles that were all on that album.
Wow.
And that gave us some kind of strange power with the record company. They were afraid that the group would get upset and leave, or that they wouldn't want to record, or they, you know, it was a strange time. And Jimmy Martin said yes. Hey, Jeff, yeah, and Jimmy Martin will be one of them. And Jeff says, who's Jimmy Martin? He hadn't heard of Jimmy Martin. He heard his music. Keep in mind that you couldn't hear of everything. You know, you had a record player and the radio in your car. You didn't have a tape player in your car yet.
No.
You know, it was what you played at home, what you heard on the radio, and what you heard live. And there was
that was it.
Live. And Jeff had heard Jimmy Martin's music because my brother and I, we played around LA a bit, the two of us as a duo, before the Dirt Band. And we did Jimmy Martin songs. And we did several Jimmy Martin songs, and it was really fun. Hold what you got, I'm coming home, baby. Hold what you got, and I don't mean maybe. Been thinking about it, and I'm on my way. Don't sell the house and don't wreck the car. Just stay there, honey, right where you are. Anyway, Jimmy had great songs. And I will say that,
think about how young you are here and the impact that you've had throughout the years. And really, how many stages have you played, do you think? If you put them end to end and counted them.
Let me see that picture again.
Okay.
Now, right there, I'm 32 years old, I think. 30. Okay, 70. That's 72. That's right after the Turtle album. Or no, that's right. Where did you get that picture? I've never seen that.
I was just looking for the youngest picture that I could find of you guys to realize how much of an impact, because your music is ageless. Your music is timeless.
Well, some of the music that you call ageless is the music of Maybelle Carter, Vassar Clements, Doc Watson, Earl Scruggs. You know, I have to give credit to where it's due. And then some of the music that's ageless is thanks to Jerry Jeff Walker. Jerry Jeff Walker wrote a song called Mr. Bojangles that sounds like it was written in 1928 or 1935 or something. You know, he really did a masterpiece there. And when we put out that single, it was on the radio for 38 weeks. Wow. On the charts. 38 weeks. And that's almost a year. On the pop chart, on the singles chart.
And John, that was before there was no social media, there was no internet, there was no selfie, there was no nothing at that time. I tell everybody, it was just organic people listening to a song and becoming that, and going and purchasing the record, turning on the radio, requesting it from a human in a radio station. And it took the world by storm, your sound, and it has kept you on stages for over 50 years now.
Only had one electric instrument on it. That's the bass that Les played. And then the rest was accordion, piano, mandolin. I played the mandolin, and acoustic guitars and stuff. No harmonica on it, strangely enough. But it was going up against Aretha Franklin, the Beatles, the Doors, you know, the CCR, and all of them, and it was a fresh breath away.
Oh,
I wish we could have done that again, of course, but we did it over a period of time. It took 17 years for the Dirt Band, for the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, to get its first #1 single. Only 17 years.
17 years.
Thank you, Rodney Crowell, for Long Hard Road.
Oh.
It was his song, Long Hard Road, that went to #1.
That is just brilliant. These are the kind of stories that you will read and see because their pictures are beautiful. And Will the Circle Be Unbroken? The making of a Landmark album. It's available through Amazon. Can they also go to your website and get it, or is there a way to get an autographed copy? Or
Yes, if you go to the site that how to order the book, go to my site, and you can see that you can go to Landmark Books to get an autographed copy. Landmark Books is a store in Franklin, Tennessee. Well,
Landmark Booksellers is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Yes.
It's close to where I live, and Eric and Alicia and the people there have been I wanted to find a local store.
Well, Landmark Booksellers, you can't get better than them. They were the basis of a movie on Hallmark called The Bridge, and a 2-part series. And that's they are near and dear to my heart. My little sister was in that movie. We played the lead in that movie, and so I love them. I got to meet them, and so Landmark Booksellers giving them props. They're in the downtown Franklin. John, you are a treasure, and while you're there, get a copy of this book too, The Life I've Picked.
Yeah, you can get that on Amazon or a lot of some bookstores or from the trunk of my car.
John, God bless you. Thank you for your time today. You've been so forthcoming, and I appreciate your time. And thank you for the music. Thank you for, I'm going to tear up because it's real music. It's not manufactured. Real people playing real music, and it's lasting. And that's the thing we need more of in this world.
Well, I made an album called Made in Brooklyn with one microphone with up to 12, 13 people gathered around it. Some of the songs only had 4, 5 people. But Made in Brooklyn, if you are looking for the most recent John McEuen effort, check that out.
Absolutely. John McEuen, thank you for your time today, and God bless you as you go forward. I can't wait to hear what's coming from you next.
Well, keep your eye on Compass Records. I'm putting out an album this summer on Compass Records.
Oh, fantastic. Well, again, thank you.
Thank you. Like I said,
we are home, we are family, we are things to do and place to see. Mom and pops, local grown, small business Saturdays. We are Main Street, Main Street, Main Street. We are your Main Street today.